Come and get started on a new mission, a new direction, a new intention. Welcome to 5.8G Alive at Connections 50 Plus. I am Terry-Ann Joseph Brathwaite.
And I am Jennifer Gibbons Joseph, catering to all your prospects in the third act of life.
Economic well-being, social gratification, personal fulfillment.
Join us on Wednesday at 6 p.m. on Connections 50 Plus Facebook page, YouTube channel,
and on Gael the Caribbean.
Hi, good evening, everyone, and welcome to Connections 50 Plus 5.8G Alive. I am Jennifer Gibbons Joseph, one of the co-creators of Connections 50 Plus. And with me, as usual, is my colleague.
Hi, everyone. Good evening. I am Terry-Ann Joseph Brathwaite, the other co-creator. And welcome. We continuing the discussion, Jennifer. I think people agree that pride will kill you. Some people don't think it might leave you badly wounded. Some think it will kill you. Some think you'll survive.
Yes, I thought that was very controversial. I listened to your show, but you all talking the truth. So that was the feedback I got, Terry-Ann.
Goodness. But anyway, we think it is a very serious thing. As I say, you're looking in the rearview mirror, and what's in front of you could be worse than what's behind. So you better get organized. So we've brought in some reinforcements with us today. We have a professional, Dawn Solomon, who we continue a discussion, but we are looking at really how can we help ourselves to face reality? And when we face the reality, what can we do and what can others do? So let's continue being in tune. Listen to this conversation. Okay, folks. We have been talking and promising that we will have now the professionals on to continue our discussion. We know our pride is not going to kill us because we're smarter than that. We're going to fix it. So we are happy to introduce Dawn Solomon, a psychologist, a practicing psychologist, who is going to weigh in on this discussion with us. Welcome, Dawn.
Thank you, Terry-Ann and Jennifer.
Dawn, can we start by you just giving us a brief history of yourself so people would get to know professionally and a little bit of you personally who we're speaking to now?
Sure. Well, like you said, I am a professional. I am a practicing psychotherapist. I am also a lifestyle coach, and I'm also a specialist on managing EAPs. I do the training, I provide the programs, and I basically do everything in the field of employee assistance programming. As I was saying, in psychological terms, what was happening with that young lady is what is called learned helplessness, that she had learned to be helpless because she was afraid to do anything to help herself because of the consequences of a situation in her home.
That's sounding like a lot of us. That's sounding like a lot of us.
She was being battered, literally battered.
Mm-hmm.
All right. And yes, and people, other persons have that, not necessarily from battering, but you would be surprised how much psychological pressure is put on individuals from family because of their status, because of their beliefs, because of what we do or don't do in this family. You understand? The social norms. And that as well keeps persons away from seeking help. Whereas if they seek help quickly and easily, they would be much better off. They would not have to make statements. We would not have to make statements like pride gonna kill me. Because, and even though they start off, timidly, when they recognize how they can help themselves, when they recognize how they feel about being able to achieve and accomplish something that they set out to do, a simple little thing like journaling, or I'm going to start walking every day, or they meet with two other ladies who've been experiencing what they have, but they have gone past it. I mean, it is amazing to see.
Dawn,
Yes.
in situations where can it be, I mean, we use the word self-inflicted, it have people who have nothing to do with family or anybody affecting them. They themselves, on their own, with their own pride, feel, I am too, and he spoke about, yes, they can do different things, but some people say, oh, I don't like how I look in, so I am not going anyway. So you might think, okay, let them socialize, meet other people, you'll feel good. And they will tell you, I don't like how I look in, I'm not going anyway. Or all excuses why they don't feel that they can do better or make their lives, they're miserable. They know they're not happy with their lives, but yet still, they're just stuck in their own ways. How you as a psychologist and as a coach, how can these people help? Terry, and I won't let Terry answer because she said leave them alone.
I'm answering you in two ways. One, yes, I agree that there are those persons, but two, there is always, and I mean, well, and I'm saying always tongue in cheek, but there's always someone who can reach them because they are so used to being self-centered and very, protective and secretive about who they are and what they believe in and what they feel, and they know themselves better than anybody else. I'm saying this because I'm thinking of a relative of ours who I got into treatment, and she was exactly that way. Now you might say, oh, well, you're a psychiatrist, you're a psychologist, so you could have done that. But there's always somebody who can reach that person. They may or may not be there at the time, or they may or may not be aware of what is going on with the individual, but there's always, and I'm not saying that every single person who feels like that gets treatment, but I'm telling you, more persons than you think get treatment, because there is always an individual who, that one person who is to themselves and only trust themselves, there's always one person that they trust, and they will tell their little secrets to, and they will tell their little feelings too, and they will have a little window into what is going on in their world. So the important thing is that understanding and reaching that one person who she would let in, and that one person would be the person that would help her. Sometimes I've done this already. I give them a little story to concoct that they do it themselves, or they auntie the nene and somebody, and they get help, right? You have to be very careful with them, because you have to make sure that in a case like that, somebody like that, once they have the means, they will come privately. They will not join a group, at least not initially. And this is also a true story. I'm not telling fibs. I had an individual like that. And so I was treating her singularly. But we talked about, groups that I did and somebody, and she heard the name of somebody that she knew. And she said, oh my God, that's my good friend, whatever. I said, Well, people come all the time, they actually tell you, listen, call my name, call my name, because they would have accomplished so much in that time. They would have understood then that, hey, I can do something. I am good. I am better, at what I do. And that individual really did. After a period of time, she stayed in therapy with me. And after a period of time, she asked to join a group and did join a group. But I agree with you. There are those persons, and it has to do with, let me tell you, let's bring it back. It has to do with family. It has to do with beliefs. It has to do with customs. It has a lot to do with where you come from and how you see yourself. And even though in a family there will be extroverts and there will be other people who would be a little quieter, and there will be an introvert here and there. There's always one person that will decide they could do it if they want. That's not me. I'm not doing that. I'm not telling anybody my business. I'm not thinking. And in any case, they can't help me. They always feel nobody can help you. And when you see that, when they're at that point, you need to leave them. You need to let them talk, and then come at them from a different angle. Like I say, if you know somebody that they would share confidences with, use that individual. But yes, I agree with you. There are those who, unfortunately, and hopefully they're in the minority, that will not get help because they feel like that. And it has to do with beliefs. It has to do with customs. It has to do with norms. Mm-hmm. And they have not. And again, there are therapies that help people like that,
Dawn, before we get into the therapies, I want to step back a little bit and not go to those who need to be in therapy, just before you get to that stage. But I love the point you talk about the witnesses, and I want to call it the witnesses to chaos. Mm-hmm. I want to address many, many people who Jennifer said something just now, and it's a serious thing because I consider us to be civilians, and sometimes we encounter people who are so far gone in their self-deception. I will be blunt. Their self-deception and their continued repeating to themselves the narratives that are no longer true, that are lies, that not relevant. The child is bad. The child will not succeed. The house is you're going to lose the house. You can't afford to continue with this lifestyle. The pain you get in your chest every night before you lie down that you didn't tell your doctor about on the last visit, that you're not telling them about, it is going to be your heart or something like that. I am referring to that. And I love your point that there's always someone they trust, but I also believe that there's always someone who is seeing it.
There's always someone
who is witnessing it and seeing it. There is always someone in our lives who is looking at us on this third act stage going over a precipice. And whether they're fed up talking, and that person is usually an adult child, mm-hmm. or a close friend or neighbor, somebody, or a sibling, or somebody who has been in your life.
Yes.
And, sometimes they tell us, this weekend, my eldest son he called me out on something. I had this pain, and I'm telling him, I have to do this and I have to do that, and I have to go here and I have to go there. And he just sat and looked at me and he said, you don't stop, you don't realize how fast you go in. You need to slow down, otherwise something is going to happen to you. And the way he said it, the way he said it, I just stopped. I had to look at what I was putting together in a day, and it was really ridiculous. And I had to say to him, thank you, Mark, for pulling me square. And I had to congratulate myself for listening to him and listening and responding to what he did. Now, I am saying that there are witnesses to our chaos who are talking to us. But in our stubbornness, in our the pride, the own way, and whether this is about how we spending money, how we hiding behind credit card debt, how we hiding behind health, how we continuing with a life infrastructure that we cannot continue to maintain, be that infrastructure a 10-bedroom house or a car that's too expensive or whatever it is. Before we get into therapy, what can we say to us to cause us to pause and at least give a hearing to those voices that are telling us, you probably need to look at this and reevaluate its importance or its priority to us? How do we speak to us in that way?
There are a couple of things that could happen. I want to say this first. Unfortunately, there would be the minority, I hope, that would lose it all and it will all fall apart. But there are also other things that you can do in that. Like you say, for example, the son who would have said to the mother, this is what is going to happen, you're going to lose it all. She may not at that point in time say to him, son, you're right. She might think about it. And what he could do in a case like that, say, listen, maybe I am not the person to help you with this. Leave a card for a therapist or somebody. Leave a card for a friend or talk to a friend. Just like I said, there's always somebody. No, it might be a kind of situation where it's private and it's family, so therefore no friends could come in the business. So leave a card for a therapist. And what the son, and I'm thinking of like an adult son, what the adult son could do is in that. I'm not a therapist. I'm not a financial accountant, so I can't tell you the pros and cons or the time frame. But I do know from just common sense, this cannot continue that way, because you cannot continue putting out and there's nothing coming in, right? So what I will do is I will leave this with you. These people are very confidential. If you think you want to call, if you want my help with it, you can also call me. There is that. And sometimes there's response from that, because even when they call somebody, right, they may think, well, look, it's confidential. I'm just talking to this person. And it is confidential. I'm just talking to this person. But like I said, there will always be the minority that things will fall apart, because things do fall apart, right? And what that young person, young man, whoever it is, could do is, Mom, you need to decide whether or not you want to get help and let's see what we can salvage, or whether you want the whole world to see us falling apart, to see us losing our house, to see us losing the car, to see us getting put out on the road. So you have to decide which one.
That's a powerful point. That's a powerful point.
Yes, shock. You have to shock them into making a decision.
Yeah.
You have to shock them into making a decision.
Yeah. Sometimes it takes and someone close to you looking at you to give you the consequence. And hopefully that is going to
shock.
Hopefully, even if you don't reach therapy, but at least it will bring you to a point of starting to talk about what they are seeing. Even if you are not aware of what they are seeing, and I say this to our cohort who are listening, if you have people around you who keep saying to you, girl, you have to watch this, girl, we need to pause and drop the All right, except we know better than them how we good. But still, give them a hearing. Listen, let them say their case to you.
And I think you have to do it understanding who they are.
That they love you.
They are not doing that because they feel, because that's just who they are. That's their process. That's their way of processing. That's who they are as individuals. You know, that's the family way.
Yeah.
That's my way
family
of thinking.
Family or friend or co-worker.
No, but I'm talking about the person who is willing to have their house fall apart.
Oh.
You understand? That their belief, their thoughts that we in this family, the so-and-sos, we don't do this. We don't go to therapists. We don't do these things. So you have to keep that in mind, and then give them the shock therapy that, well, you may not go there, but we might be on the papers. We might be out in the community where people seeing us having to leave their house. Which one do you want?
Go from living in a nice big house to renting a little apartment somewhere in a back street.
Exactly. And the thing is, once they get to talking, they may have to sell that house, but they may be able to sell the house, but buy another house, a smaller one. And there's all kinds of things you could say. Oh, these children getting big and they're all moving out, so we don't need all this space. We need a smaller house. All those things happen.
You know what I've found?
So they can save face.
What I have found also is that, and I'm just shifting from the family member or friend who's very concerned, watching on at the sideline and decided they will intervene because they feel they can't just sit back and allow your friend or your family, you see them going down a certain route. But also, and I'm just us who there within the whether it's in the household or visiting a friend or observing from the outside, we tend to say we're not interfering because it's very sensitive. We don't want to hurt their feelings. We don't want to lose their friendship. And we ourselves, and I sometimes, I don't want to say encourage, but endorsing the behavior. And there's other, so I just want to use that as one of the examples for us to think about sometimes when we hesitating, we're not interfering, and you share the ways to how we may be able to intervene. I really believe that shock sister, letting you face reality will work. Because I know using my situation sometimes when recently going through some health challenges, and I was advised by family members, why don't you do X, Y, and Z? And I dismiss it and I say, I good. I feel I intelligent enough, I have the experience enough. I'm not doing it. I good. And I remember sharing, because I'm not a secret agent. Some people, I understand their personality. My personality is one to talk out. And even me who will speak out, still experiencing that, I don't know if you want to call it pride, shame, whatever. And I remember chatting with a very good friend, and I'm saying, imagine you telling me I should do this, that, and I know better. And then she say, you think so? I don't think you know any better. I really feel they're correct. Why not really look at it? And let me tell you, pride, I felt badly because I say, gosh, she's my good friend and they know me and I feel they should know my skill and my this and that. But when that friend told me, hey, they're right, you know, I seeing what they're seeing. Somehow you're not seeing it. I think you should take that advice. It shook me up enough to say, all right. I will make that call. And I'm sharing this because many of us, because of our profession and our past status or whatever, when you go too soft or nice in a profession, we may not listen. And that's shock or saying as it is. We don't always have to support or endorse to make our friends feel good or family member feel good, because it's not helping. So I just want to share that, because that really shook me up enough to take action. So I wanted to mention that there.
Thank you for sharing that. But I want to share something very personal, but I'll answer you first and say this. I hear what you're saying, and in recent times, right, people have been sharing a lot of information with the whole world, with the whole community, whatever, this particular thing is happening, and this is how to get help. And it helps too when you know somebody else, you know, is going through the same thing with you, and they might see you and just give a smile or something, because from time to time you will meet them somewhere that is related to just that. So no, I'm going to give you this. I'm going to give you an example. When I was diagnosed with cancer, I have a circle of friends. So my thing is, other than my family, I tell members of my circle. One particular member said to me, well, I was telling her separately because she was in a separate area, country or whatever. Well, you tell me, so I'm going to tell you now. You know, I went through that. But me, I ain't tell nobody. I said, well, to each his own. And if that's how you felt, and if that's how the way you felt you were able to treat with it, that's okay. That's not a problem. You understand? I say, but I feel the support and the love of my friends and my family members. And it really helps me, because I mean, sometimes we make a joke out of it. Anybody who know me a long time know I miss Carnival. Carnival is my therapy. I tell everybody that, and that's why I used to pay so much money to play mass, because good therapy is expensive. So that's why I used to pay my big money to play my mass, and that was from ever since. And so I was sharing, and I said, well, when I do this, I feel good, I feel comfortable, because I went to a party, so it of course, I changed from drinking alcohol to non-alcoholic drinks. So, but we all have our fancy glass that we go into the party with. So I go on with my fancy glass, but it's iced tea in my glass, you know, but it's looking brown, so it could be vermouth, it could be any one of those things. One of my members say, Dawn, what's that you drinking there? I said, easy, go easy, girl. There's iced tea, but in a fancy glass. Where expect me to put it? You know, and so we had a big laugh about it, and we went on. You understand? And it's ongoing. And then guess what? You know, every day you open the newspapers, somebody else is giving a testimony. And believe you me, not that because you want to tell people your business, it's not that. And I think maybe when you're the person that's experiencing it, you know what it feels like to share. Yeah. So for those persons, like, for example, you say, well, we think that we're condoning. You're not really condoning, because if the person is not allowing you and is not listening to what you have to say, you can't do anything about it except try again, come with a different strategy. You understand? And sometimes it takes people a little longer. Yeah. It takes people a little longer to come to it, to come to the realization, you understand? And there will always be the one or two that just wouldn't. And it has to do with their psyche. It has to do with their beliefs. You understand? It has to do with family dynamics. Those things play a part in who we are as well.
I think the main lesson here, And it's so significant for us.
Mm-hmm.
We of our cohorts, we know when something going on, as Jennifer said, we know that there is something there, but we are such self-made, independent people that
Yes.
we feel, oh, shippiness is this. I can't just collapse now and go. All kind of people who I have been helping and supporting, so they don't know how to help me. I have to handle this myself, and that is an aspect of pride. That is an aspect of
Yeah.
pride, not giving other people an opportunity to help you. It is selfishness and it is pride. And I have a friend who told me that once. Terry-Ann, you don't give people the opportunity to help. You just go and organize everything, and then afterwards you're tired. We have to start, put yourself to sit down somewhere quietly with a notebook, Jennifer's famous notebook, and take out all your friends, not journaling, write down all your friends' names. And right next to the names, what is it that they keep repeating to you that you keep dismissing?
Yeah.
That might be an exercise to at least begin to open ourselves to the possibility that somebody's been holding a mirror up to us that we need to look at.
Yeah.
That we refuse to look in, that we refuse to look in.
Yeah.
Because we are afraid that we will see what we already know.
Exactly. Yeah. And that may be the thing, because I can write down, there are some things some friends say to me, and a lot of the things are very positive. Some of the things are questioning, and everything has to do with the rate at which I do things.
Yeah.
Can I put you on the spot right now?
Sure.
Can I put you on the spot?
Sure.
So when you check those things and you recognize that what they are suggesting, what they are advising, that it really will work and it would probably be for your betterment, then how do you answer yourself?
Honestly,
yes.
I will be honest, and I look at that, and it doesn't often happen. But when it does, I usually go back and I say, yeah. A classic example, Jennifer and I will have very tough discussions about certain things, and I will have some points of view, and we will be at opposite ends and so on. And
not healthy.
And I usually take it and I look at it and I adapt. I do adapt. There are some areas in my personal life where I do still have a resistance, and I say, you're no better than me. But and I won't go to that person. But I will take it into account and I will raise it in another area where I think there's expertise. And I have a friend who is a therapist, and I use him as my therapist. So I am not afraid of therapy.
Yeah.
But you might not be afraid of therapy, but you're afraid of your friends telling you and acknowledging to them.
I'm not afraid of them if I don't believe that you have the thing. But I say not that it's sounding bad, but I think, and Jennifer, you'd be able to answer this. I think I listen with an argument.
As Dawn mentioned, the discourse is healthy. But the thing about it is not everybody can do that. There are people who are, very sensitive. We do it a lot because we are open to each other in terms of there is no pride or shame. There's only understanding and appreciation of each other, the different skills that we have. And it's not all the time I would do what you suggest, or vice versa.
Jennifer more stubborn than me.
I will say, you could say anything, but this is me, and this is what I'm doing. Now, I may realize down the road, way back when something happened, I call and say, I ain't even saying you're right. I'm saying, I did so and so. I did it. You understand? Not because you tell me. The situation came up and I did it. But that's when I think you have to reach that maturity level, or that stage where you don't have that pride, you don't have that ego to deal with. You're not fighting status. And Dawn, this is other thing we have found, and this is the in terms of the discussion we are having here about our pride could keep us back, is that yes. And I have found that in our discussions and chatting with persons who we meet, you see that those of us, and I just spell it open, who came out from that status quo and not letting go that status quo, it is so difficult, even as you said, when it comes to any of the situation. In health situation, we're not saying anything because we feel we are strong and we have been healthy, eating right, doing all the right things and giving off that, we give our opinion on things. We came out of maybe a background, we may have been a psychologist or a senior manager, making some serious decisions. So we want to maintain that. We don't want anybody to look at us differently. And I have found, to me, persons in that category, as beautiful as they are, struggle with that letting go and realizing, hey, we on the stage, and we are humans. We can get sick. We can lose our investments. Our children could not maintain the lifestyle we want them, etc., etc. What do you think about that, where persons from that type of status quo find it more difficult to let go and accept?
Jennifer, you kind of asked the question and answer it at the same time, because as usual, there will always be people from certain families or certain backgrounds, certain levels, because my parents were government workers or principals or teachers or whatever. Yeah. So therefore, it is expected that the family would have a particular status in the community.
Yeah.
And when you have a particular status in the community, like, for example, I'm going to use mental illness. When you have a particular status in the community, and you have a member in the family who is mentally ill, you try your darndest to put a lid over that pot as long as you can keep it there until the lid fly out, and you can't do nothing about it because the person outside. Now, in a situation where we would have dealt with it realistically, you would have taken the person, carry them, whether it is privately. And sometimes when we go privately, we find out, no, this person, because remember, we didn't have too many mental institutions. So you have St. Anne's and you have San Fernando. And St. Anne's is the main one. So you have St. Anne's and the person have to go up St. Anne's. But how could you have a Mr. So-and-so son or daughter in St. Are you mad? If somebody go up and see, or if a nurse who working there, working on the ward, but I work St. Anne's Hospital. So I can tell you, I work St. Anne's Hospital and I work in psychiatry with the mentally ill homeless. And most of the time I was responsible for that program, but I also worked on other wards. And it is sometimes you see it we had what is called milieu therapy, where all the therapists would come together, the psychiatrist, the social worker, the doctor, everybody comes together and we have what is called milieu therapy, so where we bring in the patient, and in some instances we try to bring in the parents, right, the relatives, because we want to help them understand what kind of treatment they're getting, and when we send them home, what is expected of them.
Yeah.
That you need to bring them back to clinic, you need to do this, you need to do that. And that used to be the most taxing part of our work schedule, because they would come up with all kinds of things. There were situations like this. Sometimes the family leave them, they don't come for them. And when they take them, they carry them and they lock them, or they carry them at some family somewhere and they don't carry them to clinic. So guess what?
Yeah.
They go on again. They go on again, as opposed to having the people come to clinic, take their medication. They may not function at the same level depending on how ill they are. You understand? But some of them are able to function. They go back on their job, because we had a lot of people who came to St. Anne's who worked in government jobs and private jobs and stuff. Well, the private are not so, they were, back then, they were not as easy on them as the government offices, right? They take the tablets, they get their time off, they come to the clinic, they take their medication. I mean, I ran a special clinic too. They take their medication and they go back out there and they work. And I can tell you, there were success stories. There were success stories of people taking their medication and going back to work. But we know from the time they slip up and they don't take it, and we see them coming in, they say, you see, when you come to clinic, when did you stop taking these tablets? And they know. So it works, but guess what? Depending on where your status is in society, right? Now, I remember this gentleman, his family was real high society, but guess what? He himself was a very senior member in one of the ministries, right? And he came in, and we used to have this group, and when I tell you, nothing like him keeping up his medication and stuff like that. Eventually he retired, and he would see in the road and he would tell people, I mean, his family used to cringe at first, but then after a while they got used to it. And that guy was able to live his life. He was able to live his life. You know? So yes, it will always have those persons who will impede, and I'm calling it impede, impede their members' progress, their family members' progress, because of their pride. And I know that because I experienced it in St. Anne's Hospital. Because of their pride. And there were others who, well, it happened before I even went to St. Anne's. I don't know how they did it. Very rich, different complexion. And they get their people to live in St. Anne's. I'm like, oh Lord, this poor person needs to go home. No, I'm taking them. Of course, you know,
so
we've done a lot of debunking, so people have had to go anyway. But yes, in a situation like that, there will be, like I said, there will be some challenges and there will be some successes.
Yeah.
You know, and I think because we've got about 5 to 8 more minutes again to chat, I think it is so important right now. I mean, we carrying baggage forward from time past. We're in 2025 and plenty of us still hanging around 1990, 2000, 2010, and we have not moved. And if we, you know, I say so many of us going forward, but we fixed in the rearview mirror. But if we look at what's going on in the world today, what was in the front mirror last month has changed radically. And what is ahead of us may be more detrimental to us than anything that is in the back there. When we talk about our finances, when we talk about the state's capacity, the earning power of the state, if we're in the Caribbean, where the price of oil is, If we look at
Yeah.
what's happening with the trade war that is coming up and what is happening to the
Oh, Lord,
exchanges,
yes.
we don't know that our government reserves are all invested in those international exchanges that are tumbling. So
Of course,
American
they are.
countries are facing elections. We are facing elections, and to the extent that people feel, oh, it's bacchanal politics and rum and roti as usual, and they don't realize you have to forget the macro picture and look at your household, see what is going on
I am
in
not.
your household, and shore things up. So that need to be very, very real and ask your family members, hey, do you all think that how I have been going is sustainable? And how we have been going is sustainable? And if it is not, then we have to get help.
Well, let me suggest this. And I mean, all you could do is try. I am suggesting this, that one, at the household level, there must be a catalyst for trying to get meetings going. Whether you start with 2 and you get 10, but there must be a catalyst for trying to get it going, right? There must be a catalyst.
And for trying to... What is a catalyst? Please explain what a catalyst is. Some people may not know.
All right. The catalyst is the person who would take the mantle, set up the meeting, talk with the members, encourage them, bring the information back and forth to them. Even if you didn't go to the meeting, you didn't come to the meeting, you are the main person in the family unit that will set the agendas and make things happen. The catalyst is the person who makes the things happen.
And it may be the youngest child. So
it could be anybody.
Cohort. Don't go buffing the young child when they come to tell you need to change. Don't get up on your high horse.
Anybody who could get it done. It can be anybody who can get it done.
Yeah.
And we need to also look at doing it at all levels, even in the little friendship groups, even though some people might be a little skittish. Some people may not come today, they may not come next week. But guess what? If we could keep it going, not just leave it on one person. So let's say we have 3 persons who are bought in to the situation and who are, yes, I agree with this. We must do this. Okay, so this month is me, next month is you, next month. But let's keep it going. And you may find that 6 months down, we're going to get a 4th person. You understand? But we need to keep it going. Because if we get tired and give up, then nothing will happen.
Oh, no, something will happen. Something bad.
I'm talking positive.
You know, I agree with both you and Terry-Ann in that we are in different times.
To be Catholics.
And we have to look at different methods in terms of us to I want to say, survive these times we're in, and we want to do it in a way that we really, it mustn't be, you're hearing the term a lot now about suffering. It mustn't be suffering. It's not about suffering. It's about how we could really enjoy a quality life, even within the times that come into us. And to do that, I totally agree. I'm always for us coming together, whether it's a family unit, whether a friend unit, whether it's a community, but continue having pertinent, meaningful, I should say, not even discussion, chats, sharing ideas. And not everyone, some people might say, oh, I'm not into the financial thing, I don't like to talk money. Then the person who can, talk about money, they let them do that. Somebody, share their skills and discuss the areas that, and make suggestions that we could all go through this time. And this is continuous for us. We on Connections right now. We're looking at, having different forums where, and having persons like yourself, Dawn, the professionals come on and share and discuss these pertinent topics, which will help us as we prepare for the times ahead. Yeah?
Definitely.
I think too that we need to understand, even from the level of professionalism and stuff like that, and those of you who will do it in your homes and in your groups with friends, we need to understand that not everything is at the top shelf level. And that is why you have groups. And that's why you have different individuals, because they are able to tell you things. I mean, I have heard some stuff financially, like, and I went away saying, wow, 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 wow. Because simple things like, you know, all these tech things that you do and you pay these subscriptions and stuff like that. Well, of course, the younger people who very tech savvy will tell you, Mommy, you know, you don't need that. When you take away that, you know how much that is? That's $100 you could save.
Yeah.
And guess what? I'm not thinking about that as $100. I thinking, oh, yeah, that's one taking care of it. And the thing is, when we think about, you know why I like susu? You know why I like susu? Susu is a thing that I join a susu. And I say, when you join the susu, you're thinking, where are you getting this money from every month to give? Because somehow, if you didn't join the susu, that money spent.
Yeah.
The $600, the $1,000, it's spent, It's spent. And then when you think of, like, ours was run for 10 months. In 10 months, right? You can, if you need 600, you get $6,000. In my head, I would never think I could save $6,000 in 10 months, just so.
Yeah.
Just so. And that's my $6,000. You understand? That's mine.
Yeah.
In 10 months. So that's why I'm saying it is important to have groups and to hear the same information from different viewpoints. It is very important. And that is why it is also important for people to understand it's not everything is a high-level therapist or anything like that. There are groups. You can go and you could get information. There are community groups. There are government
your neighbors, your household.
Yes, because your friend, your neighbor. I mean, just
your
like
church
how
group, the people you meet in church, all over the place.
Like how we hear this, we realize, it's not me alone that have. It's about 10, 4 or 5 people in a close network have it. And the thing is, if you keep this to yourself, you don't know.
Yeah.
If you don't share, you understand? If
and you're not unique, you'll realize that you're not unique and special.
We are not. We are not.
Yeah.
We are not. So then those things to help us to realize, hey, it's okay. It's okay to talk about it. It's okay to say, because, oh my God, that's what it is. It's an oh my God moment.
Yeah. Great.
So it is important. It is important for us to share information, to share knowledge, to share skills.
Share experiences.
Yes, I can't say it enough.
Yeah. Dawn, that is a great point for us to end on, because I think it is at the core of what we are trying to do with our tribe, our 5.8G tribe, to really, really get together. Now you all have heard the professionals say it. So it's not just Jennifer and I all talking. You know, so we want to thank you. I think this was excellent in terms of really starting to put some air and some oxygen into the issues that we have to face as we go forward. So I really do want to thank you sincerely, Jennifer.
Yeah, no, I just endorse what you're saying, and thank Dawn again for joining us. It's always for us a pleasure, especially to have Dawn here too as a professional, giving a different slant because we chat, but we are not experts at all on many areas. And we just love when we have our guests come in and give their expert, how they think. And really, I will say advice. I will go as much say and give some advice because it's advice that this is what you are trained, highly qualified with all the experience. And I really appreciated all the, as we say, just golden nuggets that you shared. Yeah. I am sure many of our listeners would have learned a lot today. And I hope that they listen to what you have been saying and share. Yeah.
Thank you for having me. And I am available to you all anytime.
Thanks again.
Thank you so much, Dawn. You know what I really like in terms of our discussion? It all comes back down to our tribe.
Oh, yes.
Who is around you? And I love that point about the witnesses to our chaos, who keep quiet and who we shut down so they don't tell us to allow us to fix the situation.
Yeah, so true. And, listening to Dawn, we really, all of us, and we continue talking about it, should do some serious introspection. Terry, and I agree with you. You find that time, where you can sit and really examine yourself and determine, hey, are you being truthful?
Yeah. Are you not listening? People talking to us, they're telling us, I'm just not listening.
So, look in that mirror. We need to look in that mirror.
Definitely.
And be honest.
Yes. And we didn't talk a lot about it, but everybody knew this week, big party. Jennifer had her birthday party. And
oh gosh, yeah, we skipped Wednesday.
And I think we will just run a small slideshow of some of the friends Jennifer had with her and so on, celebrating her 73rd birthday.
It was lovely. It was really, really beautiful.
Definitely. So we will see you all. So next week. Bye.
Next week. Bye.
Happy birthday to you. Happy birthday to you. Happy birthday, dear Jennifer. Happy birthday to you.
50+ Tribe and follow us from Trinidad and Tobago and the Caribbean.
Thank you for joining us on this Connections 50+ 5.8G Alive show.
We hope you enjoyed the lively conversation and look forward to seeing you next week.
Don't forget to like our Facebook page and subscribe to our YouTube channel.
We really love getting your feedback. Bye for now.